Live on in. My name is Erin Miller, she, her, hers. I'm currently the interim senior director of special projects at the Kaiser Permanente Center on Gun Violence Research and Education. And as I said, we are very excited that you are here. We have been delighted by the level of interest in our 2025 funding opportunity. Please note, we have held 2 prior webinars, both of which speak to the content of the funding opportunity. Today's webinar is specifically about the technology interface that will allow you to submit your application by or on September 3rd. I'd like to welcome Caroline Linden, who's a grants manager at our fiscal agent, Health Resources in Action, HRIA for short. And Caroline has been exceptionally helpful. So I'm actually going to hand her the mic because she knows far more about the interface than I do. So Caroline, please take it away.
Yes, thank you so much, Erin, and welcome everyone. I'm happy to help talk you through the technology and getting set up in HRIA Award Manager. You may have heard if you've worked with HRIA on any other projects that were transitioned recently to a new online grant management system, which we're calling the HRIA Award Manager. So the system functions really similarly to other grant management systems that you might use, like Proposal Central or other systems like that. You'll be able to find the link to the system as well as a few guides on how to use it on our website. But for now, I did also put the direct link to a system on this slide. And this is what the homepage will look like when you get to HRIA Award Manager. So you'll see this page, you'll see instructions on the right-hand side, and you'll see on the left is where you can log in. Or if you're new to the system, you'll go ahead and click the register button. So I have that highlighted here. But something to note is that if you did have an account in our previous system, which was called Blackbaud, you may already have an email account in the system. And if that's the case, you could just go ahead and click forgot password, and you could set up your password and get into the system that way. But for most people, I think you may be registering. So I'm going to kind of go through the registration process. So you'll click that register button. And then it's going to take you to this page with registration options where you'll select if you are registering under a 501c3 organization or other organization. Most will likely be clicking 501c3. So you'll click that. You'll enter in your EIN. This takes you to a search that will search the IRS database for your organization. So you'll enter your EIN and then you can click search. You can also add some other information like your organization name, anything else that could help narrow it down. But if you just search the EIN, it should pull you up. You'll see your organization name pop up. I put in ours, Health Resources in Action, for my demonstration, but you'll click on that. And you will see some information about your organization is auto-populated. Something that I wanted to note is that it's possible some information is incorrect. It's what's being pulled from the IRS database. If anything is incorrect, please go ahead and continue registering and then just email us afterwards to let us know at the email that's up here at the top, grants@hria.org. If you email there, we'll be able to fix anything on the back end. So please go ahead and continue to register, and then we can fix anything that could be wrong on the back end afterwards. A known bug I wanted to draw attention to is that there could be, like, you might select your institution and then another institution name pops up when you try to register. That's similar. This has been happening with institutions that share EINs. So for instance, Yale University versus Yale School of Public Health. If that happens, it's okay to keep registering under the other entity and then just email us and let us know, and we can get that fixed for you on the back end. You'll continue down on the registration page to fill in your contact information. And then at the bottom, there will be demographic data. I wanted to note the demographic data is required, but there is an option for prefer not to answer for every single question. So if you'd prefer not to answer that, you would just select prefer not to answer for each one. But this information is anonymous and just for our records. Once you register, you'll get this registration complete page, and then you're going to get an email from the system. It should come within 5 minutes. If you don't receive it, check your spam filter. If you still haven't received it, please let us know and we can have the system resend it for you. The email will look something like this. It has a link. The very first link is one you'll be able to use to reset your password. I know it'll be really long. It will be hyperlinked or should be in your email. You'll also be able to click on that and go ahead and set up your password. Here's where you'll set up your password to activate your account. Okay, we do have multi-factor authentication set up just for added security. If you check the box that says remember this device, which you'll see above submit here, if you check that box, then you won't have to do the MFA every single time you log in. I think the box should keep you remembered on your computer. It's either 30 or 60 days. I can't remember which one we have it set to, but it'll definitely make the login process a lot simpler moving forward, because otherwise you'll have to get this MFA code every time. So just make sure you check remember this device when you log in for the first time. Okay. So once you log in, you will see a page that looks like this. If you are logging in for the first time, you'll want to click funding opportunities, and that's where you will see the list of all of the funding opportunities we have, and you can select the Kaiser opportunity. If you're returning to work on your application, you've already started it, you're going to see it along the bottom here where it says in progress. Right now it has 0, but it would have a 1 there, and you'd be able to click on that and access your in progress application. This is where you'll also see later on down the line if there's any revisions required to your application, it would show up there as well. Okay, so when you click funding opportunities, this is where you'll see the list. We have many funding opportunities open at any given time, but you'll just look for the one that says Kaiser Center for Gun Violence Research, and then you'll go ahead and click apply now. When you click apply now, you're going to need to click save draft in order to have it just saved in the system under your in progress app. So you'll just have to click that first. And then it is going to take you to the homepage for the grant. This is what the application homepage looks like. You'll see there'll be some instructions at the top, some information about your organization and your name in the middle. At the bottom, you'll see all these tabs. So each tab has a bunch of information under it: the primary contact, the organization information, project information, key personnel, institutional contact information, attachments, and certification. And on the left-hand side at the top, you'll see where it says main, and then it says invitations. So invitations is another key area that we're going to go over. So those are the main areas to be aware of in the application portal. You can navigate through the different tabs of the application, those organization information, project information, etc., by clicking the next button at the bottom of each screen. Something important to note also is that our system does not have an autosave feature. So you'll need to be clicking this save draft button regularly so that you don't lose any information. So that's just something I want to note. At the bottom of every page, you're going to have this reminder that reminds you to click save draft, because we really just want to make sure that everyone's clicking that as much as possible, because we'd hate for you to lose any information that you've put in. Project information, I just grabbed some screenshots of these so you could see what the tabs look like, but project information has most of the questions about the project itself and the application questions. The personnel is optional. It's optional to add collaborators. If you select yes, there's space to add up to 5 collaborators. If you select no, those fields down here will go away. So that's just an optional section. On the institutional contact information, this page is much bigger. I just screenshotted the beginning to give you an idea of what it looks like. But we ask that you share contact information for your department division chair, and then also for your authorized institutional representative. I'll get more into that shortly, but this is the individual responsible for research oversight. They're often in the OSP. Then attachments, if you've applied for something with HRAA before, we used to kind of have everyone have to make a big book of all of your attachments in one large PDF. And a big change in the system is that you don't no longer need to do that, and you can just upload each attachment individually. And it removes some of the redundancies that we had in our old system. So it's really nice that way. But you'll just be able to upload all of the attachments that you need for this application. Okay. And then certification. So as the applicant, you'll need to certify the application. And this is what that page will look like. You'll certify the application under that applicant application certification section. But please note the authorized institutional representative, who I'll talk more about in a second, will also need to certify the application. But you will not be able to see the box that they have checked in for certifying the application. And I'm going to go over more in a second how you'll be able to see if they have certified the application. Okay, so invitations feature. So this is the biggest change to the system. And it's really important that you send out your invitations as soon as possible, because this is how you're giving other people access to your application who might need it. For the Kaiser application, there's 2 roles that are required to be invited, and for those people to accept their role before you're going to be able to submit your application. And so that's why we really recommend you start a draft of the application as soon as possible, and you invite these people who are required to log in and accept it, so that you aren't kind of scrambling for that at the last minute. So the first is the authorized institutional representative. As I mentioned, this is the person responsible for research oversight, and they're often with the OSP. They will sign off on the application to certify that the applicant and the institution have met all the eligibility requirements. So that is one that is required. And then the second that's required is the institutional officer. So they're typically the fiscal officer who receives award of payments, prepares fiscal reports, oversees other financial requirements of the grant. So you're required to add them for this role, or add them, invite them, and have them accept the role before you're going to be able to submit the application. I'm going to go over what it will look like for each of them when they get invited, so you can see what it will look like from their side. The third role is an optional role, the collaborator/multi-PI role. This is completely optional, but it can be used to give a co-writer or support staff, co-investigators, any other project personnel access to your application. So they can log in through their own account, and then they can kind of edit it with you, go through it, look at it at the same time as you, and kind of share work on it if you'd like. They won't be able to submit the application, but they will be able to make edits to it. Those are the 3 roles that we have for this application. When you invite the authorized institutional representative, they're going to get an email that looks like this. It will come from noreply@smartsimplemailer.com, and they'll have a subject line like this. It's going to give them information about your grant title, your organization, your name, your project title, and some instructions for them, as well as a link to accept the application. They'll go ahead and click in that link, and then they'll get basically the same information again, but in the system, and they'll just need to click accept. And then if they do not have an account, they'll be prompted to create an account. But if they do have an account, they'll be able to just go ahead and log in. But when they create their account and log in, they'll basically navigate to that certification tab, same as the one you saw, but they're going to have their own checkbox for the authorized institutional representative application certification. So they'll check that, and then they'll click save draft. And once they have done that, then they'll be all set, and that's all they need to do, except for you do want to communicate with them to make sure that they let you know that they have checked it off, because as I said, there's not an easy way in the system for you to see that they have checked it off, because you won't have access to this field. But if you're in communication with your authorized institutional representative, they can just let you know when they've checked it off. A fail-safe, if you aren't sure, is you can always click the submit button. When you click submit, if you have all the information in and it's ready to go, you're going to get a pop-up that's like, are you sure you want to submit? So clicking submit won't automatically submit it if everything's in. But if something's not in, you're going to get an error like this error message that shows right here, submission failed. It says, the authorized institutional representative must check the certification box in order to proceed, email them to notify them. So that's a way that you can kind of check yourself to see if they've completed the certification yet. But otherwise, I would just be in communication with them. Okay, for the institutional officer, they're going to get a very similar email, but a lot less instruction because there's not much that they need to do beyond accepting it. So they'll get information, they'll click this button to go ahead and accept it. And that's really all they have to do. If they don't have an account, they'll have to create an account, but otherwise they just go ahead and click accept and they're done. And whenever you go to that invitations tab, you're going to be able to see if either of these roles have accepted the invitation. So you can see here, for instance, the institutional officer has been invited, but is not accepted. And on the left, that circled little arrow there is a button that you can resend the email to invite your role so that they can get the email again and hopefully go ahead and click and accept their invitation. Okay, so yeah, the key changes for us for the system is that it's individual attachments rather than one big PDF upload. And then second is this invitations feature, which is really important that you send out those invitations as soon as possible. The authorized institutional representative for the pre-award who certifies the application, the institutional officer post-award, they're just required to accept the role, but it's the person who would later submit ACH info if you were funded. And then the collaborator role, which has edit access and is for grant writing staff, project personnel, co-investigators, anyone who you want to be able to log in and help work on the application with you. So that's kind of the whole thing in a nutshell. So I know that we have questions coming in the Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for right now, and well, I could just leave this up while I get the questions, actually. That's fine. So you have our website and our email here, but I'm happy to take questions now.
And I'm going to feed them to you if that's okay,
Yes,
Caroline. For
yes.
folks who are maybe coming in a little bit late, please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A. We're not going to be utilizing the chat today. Caroline, you used the acronym OSP. Can you unpack that for folks who might not be in a university or big healthcare system?
Yeah, and then if you're not in a big university or a big healthcare system, you might not need, if you're just a nonprofit and the person who would, certify that your application is correct as you, and you're like the executive director or something, you can go ahead and just invite yourself as the authorized institutional representative as well. But basically, it's just going to be whoever the person would be that would be certifying your application that you are qualified. So in these big institutions, they do have an OSP office, and I'm sorry, the acronym is slipping my mind what it actually stands for. But they do have the OSP office where they have someone whose kind of job it is to monitor all of the grants going out, and they would be the person responsible for confirming that you're eligible. But in a like CBO or a nonprofit, that might just be the executive director, or it might be you yourself, and you can just invite yourself in that role.
Okay, and to be clear, because we did get a couple of questions about this in the chat, the institution, if you're a small community-based organization, you're the executive director, you can be both the institutional representative and the institutional officer. You can be all
Correct.
things. You could be the PI,
Yes.
you could be all
Yes.
three
Yes.
theoretically. Okay.
Exactly. You could be. And that I'm said because we are having this application that has kind of both. That's why we have to have it built that way. But yeah, you can invite yourself for all the roles. If you're the executive director of a nonprofit, you likely would be all of them. So you can just invite yourself. I know it's a bit of a pain to go through the process, but that would be how to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Someone wanted to know regarding the department chair, do they put the dean or the ADR? I'm assuming that means Assistant Dean of Research.
I think that's a programmatic question for you all. Do you know who you would prefer the information that you need?
I don't think we necessarily care, honestly.
Mhm.
Either would be more than sufficient,
Okay,
as long
great.
as you respond to email. I think
Mhm.
that's the most important part. Um, someone asked if we could share the link where we need to register. We will put this PowerPoint up on our funding opportunities landing page after today. And so you'll be able to access all of this information, including that link. Um, should the application be submitted by the PI, the principal investigator, or by the grants office for our institution? Our PI does not have any legally binding authority in case that is relevant.
Mm, I think the way the system works, the PI would complete the application and submit it, but the certification would be done by the grants office. So they would be like the authorized institutional representative who's certifying all the information, but the PI themselves would be filling out the application and submitting it.
Okay. Someone missed an answer, but I'm not sure which question. They just said they missed, so feel free to put it in the chat again if you'd like us to repeat any of the answers that we just shared. Once the authorized institutional representative certifies the application, will it still be possible to edit the proposal section?
Yes, yes, it will. It won't get submitted or nothing will be basically until you click submit and then the little pop-up says, "Are you sure?" and you say yes. Until then, you're able to edit anything. And if you submitted it by mistake and it's a big issue, we could always reopen it for you as long as it's before the deadline.
I love that fail safe. That is super helpful.
Mhm.
Someone is curious, that first primary contact, they want to know if that's the principal investigator, the person leading the research.
Yes, the primary contact is the person who is leading the research, who will create their account and be the person who's submitting the application. And
Thank
then if anyone else is working on it, you would add them in the collaborator role. So the PI would need to invite them in the collaborator role to work on it with.
Okay. The next question is a little bit more programmatic than technical, but we'll discuss it anyway, just briefly. It says we're a governmental public health agency working in partnership with a local healthcare agency on gun violence reduction. Is it possible for us, the healthcare department, to apply as the lead agency in the application in partnership with the healthcare agency, or does the healthcare agency have to be the lead applicant? So thank you for that. A couple of things in there. First of all, municipalities are absolutely eligible to apply as the lead or as partners. And we certainly welcome um, proposals that have a healthcare agency either in the lead or as a partner. Healthcare agencies are not strictly necessary. What we've said often is that this is a request for health focused proposals. And the center is extremely mindful that the structural drivers of health often happen outside of healthcare. So yes, short answer to all of your questions is yes. Can you please share the slide with the table denoting each role again?
Yep. Let me get back to it. There you go.
Okay, hope that helps. And again, we will be putting this PowerPoint up on the website after today, so you'll be able to download this whole thing and keep a copy for yourself. To confirm, both the submitting, oh, again, another programmatic question, both the submitting entity and their subcontract cannot both budget for 15% indirects. The prime site has to share or could request 15% on the overarching budget, and then the sub-site wouldn't receive anything. Could you explain that? So I want to encourage everybody with the programmatic questions. We do have a lengthy set of frequently asked questions already up on the website. I would direct you there. No subsection of the proposal nor the overall proposal budget can the indirects be more than 15%. If you have a community-based partner or a collaborator, we do expect that they will take indirects, should be no more than 15%. The PI, their indirects, their institution's indirects should be no more than 15%. I hope that helps. And again, I want to encourage everybody, head over to the FAQs on the website. We have lengthy discussions about budget and indirects. Can you clarify who will sign the contract if an applicant is awarded? Lots of programmatic questions today. That would be the fiscal officer for your institution. Can you please share the link where we need to register? That will be again with the there's both a submission portal link on already on our webpage, and when we put this PowerPoint up in a day or two, it will also be on there. Some more programmatic questions. A question in here about folks who might have missed the first webinar series. We do have both the PowerPoint and an archived version of that webinar currently on the website, so we would encourage you to dig into that, particularly if you have programmatic questions. Can the collaborator, in parentheses, grant writer, create the account and invite all necessary roles for the application, PI, institutional officer, etc.?
Yes, the one who creates the application is the only one who is able to click submit at the end. And it's affiliated with that person. So it's better if the PI creates the application because then it's affiliated with their name.
Okay.
But then they can invite the collaborator, and the collaborator co-writer can go ahead and do all of the invitations and everything else for everyone else. But for the first account, it would be better to have the PI create it and invite the collaborator. If you do need to have your co-writer create it, it is possible on the back end for me to switch like the ownership, but it would be easier if it's possible for the PI themselves to create the application and then invite their co-writer who then can do all the other invitations.
Okay. The rest of the questions look to be programmatic. So again, we're going to encourage people to head on over to the website. There's both an archived version of the programmatic webinar. There's the PowerPoints from that, a PowerPoint singular from that webinar. And as I said, there's also a substantive set of FAQs. If folks have any other tech questions, we would welcome those. This is a new interface. Even if you have been a grantee of the center in past, even if you have been a stakeholder in any number of different ways for HRIA and the foundations that they facilitate, administer, direct, support. So for everyone on here, I will risk saying that this will be new for you, even if you were registered with us previously.
Mhm.
And for those of us who are new to the Kaiser Permanente Center, I'm just going to restate again. We are so grateful. Health Resources and Action, HRIA for short, is our fiscal agent. So when you enter the portal, you will not see "Welcome to the Kaiser Permanente Center's 2025 funding opportunity." You will see HRIA's logo. So please don't think that you're lost. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. If you head over to the funding opportunities landing page, there's a whole bunch of links. There's a whole bunch of key dates. One of those, if you have a tech question that emerges later, you can submit through the link on our website. And what we will do is go to Carolyn and ask ask for
Yeah,
her guidance about the
yeah.
interface. We
And
also
if it is a tech question, you can always email this grants@hria.org email. I monitor that account. It goes right to my inbox. So I'll be able to answer any tech questions that might
okay.
come up. And I really am happy to help. Don't hesitate even if you think it should be easy and you can't figure it out. Don't worry, I'm here to help. So
Yeah.
feel free.
Okay, it looks like most of the rest of these questions, all of the rest of these questions, I think, are programmatic questions. So again, we're gonna point you towards the resources already on the website. Caroline, thank you, thank you, thank you for your time and your expertise. We are again so grateful to you and to HRIA for building this interface for us. Um, we are excited that all of you are here. We're so grateful for the interest in this funding opportunity. So as Caroline said, please don't hesitate if you have additional questions. Programmatic questions you can submit through the website. It literally says, like, I think additional questions. There's a hyperlink. And for you, Caroline, it's just grants@hria.org if they have a tech question. So content questions about the guidelines, the shape, the parameters of your proposal, but how to submit grants@hria.org.